Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I'm Jacqueline Shaw from Authentic Power Coaching, and I think I'm right now on the channel of Her Majestic Loop. So I am a life coach and a clinician. I've been a clinician for 15 years. And I'm on this channel because I used to, and I still do sometimes, do some chart readings, some astro chart readings on the side. So this question is for women. And the question is, how are you attracting men by using your feminine energy? And what is feminine energy? So as I've been surfing YouTube, I see a lot of men and a lot of women giving advice about how a woman should be in order to attract men into their lives. And unfortunately, I'm seeing that they're instilling this idea of this feminine stereotype, and the feminine stereotype is not necessarily empowering for women. So a lot of this feminine stereotype is by being weaker, by pretending you can't do things by yourself, by being subservient, by being an active listener instead of and a poised active listener at that, instead of somebody who expresses themselves openly and freely, as someone who's always agreeable, instead of someone who can go into conflict and bring up uncomfortable topics, and as someone who's always pretty instead of someone who's free to not be pretty and can get pretty angry and ugly sometimes and can have the freedom to go into that mode. And so playing this role, I feel, is very restrictive. And I'm curious what you think, because I see a lot of women agreeing with this stereotype and willing to put themselves into this role, which I think is like kind of like a corset, like putting this corset on, and they're playing this role and they're restricting the potentiality of what their female form can really offer. But I digress. So what is it about this role that is so attractive to you? So I have a couple of questions for you, and then I'm going to end. Okay. So does this modality, this female stereotype, which I find the population today is really playing with, and they're saying, well, I don't fit into that gender. I'm going to create my own gender because female doesn't fit me. And I think that's great because it's been very oppressive for such a long time. But then yet the female gender itself is not being questioned. It's been a very contained stereotype, and it's been a very much a form of oppression to make someone think and identify in being a constant server or constant nurturer, but not to demand any boundaries, and not to be vocal about what is off. And it dissuades women leaders because they want to play this super passive role because they've been told that that's what they're supposed to be because they're feminine. And before I ask the questions also, I want to I have another point to make is, if you think of the female form and you're going to put this stereotype on most people with the female form, how is it by any means quiet? We're so loud in so many ways. We're just, if you think of the vocal cords, it looks like a vagina. It's very feminine. And the vocal cords in the point of gestation, a friend of mine just actually told me this, they were formed inside of the vagina part of you when you were gestating as a fetus. So basically the vocal cords came from the vagina. They were birthed from the vagina. They're very feminine. You're feminine looking. Why would we be forbidden to use them? Another thing is being weak. So what is weak about the feminine? Is it that we're comparing it to the male form? Are we not acknowledging the strengths of the feminine? Are we not seeing the strength of flexibility or the strength of thinking with both sides of the brain at the same time? Are we not seeing the strength of being able to die every month? It's about corpus luteum to come out of us, a death, to survive a death in our body every month, or the strength of being able to deliver and create life. Some godly powers. So what's weak about it? Another question is the nurturer part. So there's this idea that women have to be nurturing all the time. But if you look at the female cycle and if you look at the female reproductive cycle, there is a time where women completely isolate and don't want anything to do with anybody for those 5 or 6 or 7 days, maybe 3, depending on the woman. Those days, she emotionally, if she listens to her emotions, she wants to stay away from people who don't serve her. She wants to be in a very nurturing environment for her, not to nurture people, but her biology demands that she be nurtured. So why would we put her in a nurturing role all the time if her body demands, if the female form demands that she be nurtured? Another thing is being always agreeable. I think because we can think with both sides of our brain so easily, the corpus callosum is naturally larger in women than it is in men, that we are able to communicate in a more emotive way to stir the pot better, where we can charge a conversation and create conflict, and it can create space for challenge and resolution and change and progress. So why would we not use that part of our biological aspect to define what feminine means? Another feminine idea is that we always have to be pretty. And we all know, if we're female, that according to our cycle, we glow more than other parts, right? And this also has to do with people who are not menstruating. They still have a hormonal flux that influences how attractive they are during their cycle. And we all know when we're menstruating, we might not be at our peak, and maybe we don't want to show ourselves to the world at that time. But we also know that it's that place where we get into our subconscious, we get into our dark parts of ourselves, and we really tap into that ugliness and that void that powers us up. So why wouldn't we be allowed to celebrate that? And why would we not define ourselves as ugly sometimes too? Another thing is, last but not least, the leadership bit. If you've ever been in a band with a bunch of women, you know it's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Okay, women are natural leaders. So if a woman is being abused, she might not want to lead. Maybe she's being mentally abused constantly in her life because of societal standards or rape culture. Maybe she won't take on that leadership, but she is naturally going to want to be vocal and lead. So when did the feminine stereotype not really match the female form? That's my question. Okay, so my question's for you. If you want to take on this female energy in order to attract males, how is this stereotype of being subservient, of being an active listener constantly, of being a nurturer and agreeable, how is that serving your body? How is that serving your mind? How is that taking on that role serving you emotionally? Are your emotional needs really being met when you take on that role? And last but not least, how is your spirit energized by taking on that role? Now, a new topic. If you are in a relationship with a man and you attracted him by playing this role of being highly feminine, stereotype of feminine rather than, real in your body feminine, how are you teaching him to treat you? How is this creating codependence in the relationship? How might it? Might not. And last but not least, last question for this topic of relationship, rather than just reflecting on how it affects yourself. But when you're in relationship and you have kids and you're taking on this feminine stereotype, what are you teaching your young girls? What are you teaching your young boys? All right, that's all I have for now. If you are interested in exploring further, of course, I will support you in whatever you believe. I expressed myself on this channel, and that's why I expressed how I believe and how I think. But I will support you if you're a client in whatever you believe, because I think everyone is different. So there's a lot of room for versatility, and variety. And everyone has their reasons for everything. So with that said, you can book a free call, or you could send a donation if you like. All right, well, have a great day, and thanks for listening. Ciao.